right. So Jonathan Khalil, thank you for joining me to sharing your inspiring story with the rest of our community and with anyone who's watching. So I'm Bilal Malas, partner at Lux Sales Consulting and growth consultant as well. I want to introduce everyone, please, here to Jonathan Khalil. It's one of our students in our SLS Framework Mastermind. He's been crushing it. And Jonathan Khalil, I just want you to introduce yourself. So, where are you from? What do you do? And go ahead and please, I'll give you the ball here.
Thank you, Bilal. And I have to say, it's been a pleasure working with you guys so far. You guys have been amazing. To start off, so my name is Jonathan. I'm a financial planner, currently working in a wealth management firm for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I worked in several major banks, also as a financial planner. And so I pride myself as a financial planner. Currently, my job is really to accompany my clients, um, mostly physiotherapists and clinic owners, throughout their life by providing them with long-term financial advice to help them grow and protect their wealth.
Perfect. Awesome. And on today's success story, what I want to do is focus more on one of the many aspects that we have in our SLS Framework Mastermind. It's the niche selection process that we have, our proprietary niche selection process. And, what we had a bunch of calls, you and I, and one thing that stuck out to you specifically was that niche selection process.
Yes.
And, as you said, you worked at, I mean, you're definitely not a junior advisor at this stage of your career. You're slowly growing at your practice and you're finding your foothold in an industry. But I want to dive into how, after so many years, you're about maybe your seventh year, eighth year in your career,
Yes.
you never had the chance to be a market authority or a niche authority. And I'm sure you've, I mean, until now, and you've heard that in the past, right? To be a successful advisor, you need to know who you're targeting. You need to have a niche. Um, this is something I always hear from advisors. Oh yeah, I know I have to do this, but I just don't know how to do it. And I was curious to know, how did you feel coming into the industry, whether it be in your first couple of years or even right now before joining our SLS framework? How did you feel about your practice and how confident you were about, who you were targeting and how you were positioning yourself?
So I mean, it's funny because you know what? Prior to joining SLS framework, I thought I had the business development aspect of the job down pretty well. Like you said, I've been working. I don't consider myself a junior anymore. I'm probably in mid-level of my career, with 8 years of experience in the banking industry now. Um, so I thought I had a good grasp of what I needed to do in order to continue to grow my business in an efficient manner. And once I started the SLS, I realized that it wasn't the case. I still had quite a bit of things to learn. I'll get into it later. So I just want to kind of put things in perspective first. So currently at my private wealth firm, I would say that our marketing, business development is mainly event based. So what we do is we host all kinds of social events. Now I would say mostly through Zoom, obviously, because of COVID. Prior to that, it was in person. So restaurants, like we would host, we would bring entertainers, and then what we would do after is just to kind of follow up with our clients and their friends, their guests, and offer them a introductory meeting to just kind of introduce what we do uh, in a more formal setting. And to be fair, it works very well, obviously. There's pros and cons. So I would say, obviously, the pros is that people are very interested. You get uh, you get a very like a high turnout in terms of presence. Um, but at the same time, these events, I have to say, they're very costly. So for an advisor who's just starting, or even somebody who doesn't have a big enough book of clients to be able to sustain uh, those kinds of event on a constant basis, right? Because it's not enough to just have one event. You have to do multiple events. You have to be constantly feeding your pipeline. So it gets very expensive and also very time consuming, right? Because there's the whole logistics behind it.
Yeah.
So either you hire someone or you do it yourself, but either way, it's either money or time or both. So it
And
gets it gets a bit, like I said, there's pros and cons. And before that, when I was working at the banks were mainly cold calling. They have these lists of clients that nobody's ever talked to for X amount of years. So they would give you these lists of thousands and thousands of clients for you to call, introduce yourself, try to book an appointment. But the thing is very impersonal, right? So the in terms of efficiency, maybe you close, you get 1% of them to meet you, or
yeah,
if you're very good on the phone, I don't know, it could go up to like maybe 10%, I guess. But the thing is, it's not very efficient, right? Um, so when we started, I guess, SLS, is it really put things into perspective.
exactly, and that's actually what I was going to dive into. But just to go back to those two strategies, in both strategies, you just also didn't. You just were praying and hoping that you were going to find this ideal client, where in fact you just didn't even know who was going to show up, right? Or who you were
Exactly,
even calling, right? Again, just
exactly.
going back to that niche selection process and just knowing there's one type of person that you want to work with because you're very passionate about helping them and you're able to position yourself that way. And so using these two strategies, it was just like a hope and pray marketing, right? You just didn't know who was going to show up. You didn't know who you were going to talk to. And most of all, you were just a jack of all trades, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only criteria we had, and that's a good point because something that I forgot to mention, but uh, the only criteria when it came to target marketing was as long as the client has over 250,000 of investable assets, then that's a qualified lead. But that was the only criteria we had. So obviously, it didn't make for very personal connections, like you were mentioning before, and that's also probably increased the difficulty when you were doing prospecting, especially when it comes to cold calling.
Yeah, just not knowing who you're targeting and having a
Absolutely,
story to back up why you're even doing what you're doing, right? And so that's what I
absolutely,
want to dive into. Like after
absolutely.
joining our SLS framework mastermind, there's a piece in our course, and again, that's what we're focusing on today, is our proprietary niche selection process in which we provide you with the step by step framework on how to basically dissect, you know, what you're either passionate about, where the results may be found, and how to dissect either an industry or a subset of society in which you can find a basically a client avatar. You need to know who you're targeting, how they title themselves, what's their professional titles, what they do, how they think, what's their problems, what's their desired outcomes, and really strike a nerve with these people, right? So picking that niche, dissecting an industry, picking a niche in there, and then going out, doing some market research, understanding their problems, their desired realities, and then crafting a strategy that is nerve striking to this subset of society, to that niche, right? And so I'm just curious to know how you felt, again, 8 7 8 years throughout in your career now, how you felt after going through this niche selection process. How do you feel now about your practice? How is the confidence level now?
I mean, to get back to what you were just saying, so the biggest change for me the SLS framework has done for me is really to open my eyes on the power of having a niche. So of niching down with a group of people. So that was for me, that was a game changer. So ever since I started the program, I started thinking more proactively about the direction I wanted my practice to take in the long term. So, like you said, so when you follow the SLS framework, so in the first couple of weeks, that's all we focus on is really niching down. So you guys actually, I went through all the worksheets and the homework, but there is a time investment upfront that you have to put, but I think it's necessary and everybody should do it, regardless, where they are in their stages for their practice. But the thing what it does is it allows you to kind of like take a step back from your day to day and to really proactively start to look at, okay, well, where are my strengths and my opportunities based on many factors like my social network, my connections, my family members. So any type of opportunity, or if you've had another job in a previous life, if you've worked as a real estate agent or a microbiologist or a lawyer, so you have a certain influence in that field, and obviously it's easier for you to connect with people in that industry. So whatever it is for you, uh, to me it was physiotherapy field and the clinic owners. So to me, I've always had a deep appreciation for the profession, and it's always deeply resonated with me. And like you said, that was part of the SLS framework. The first few weeks is do your market research, try to understand, what are their challenges, uh, not just in a financial aspect, but like in general. And why, like at first I was kind of questioning it because I was doing it, but not like entirely convinced, to be honest. But then I realized, well, this is pure gold. I mean, like I have in front of me uh, a list of or questions with answers, information that I can use when I'm talking to someone that I don't know, a total stranger, and to kind of build myself as an authority in that field. I go from, when I'm talking to someone and I have all that research, that market research done, my due diligence. So I know what he's going through in general through his profession, maybe not him specifically, but when I'm talking to him, uh, you know, I go from, hey, this is another financial advisor to, wow, this guy, he really knows what he's talking about. Like I feel like he really understands me. And so I'll be honest with you, like in terms of one of the reasons why I wasn't too sure about it is because to me, I've always had that ability to be able to quickly establish connections with people, whether they were strangers or uh, you know,
Yeah.
but it's still a very surface level connection. So when you do your market research, when you understand the profession, you understand what's happening, uh, what are their challenges, and what motivates them. So you're able to establish a much deeper connection with them right off the bat, and you're able to earn their trust. And this is what the SLS framework. Uh, this is one of the key strengths of the SLS framework is the kind of it puts the focus on, like, it takes all that experience from different advisors from the industry as a whole, and it breaks it down into multiple weeks, different videos with worksheets, and so you have a clear guideline of what you need to do. Now it's up to you whether or not you want to invest the time uh, to delve into it, but it's helped me quite a bit, and because of that, I wasn't even sure at first that people were going to answer back with the questions, but I mean, it was very short and sweet, but to
When
the
you did
point.
when you did the interviews, right? So market
The
research
interviews, yeah,
interviews, yeah.
yeah. So the SLS framework shows you a little bit how to do the interviews, what kind of questions to ask.
So basically booking, going, and that's completely people, you either past clients, current clients, or even completely cold leads, going
Yeah,
out to them and saying, "Hey, I'm doing market research for people like you, specifically for you, it's physiotherapists, clinic owners, and you were booking calls with them and asking them questions to get to know them better, right?"
exactly, exactly. And through that, through understanding their profession as a whole, when I'm crafting these personalized messages, um, when I'm targeting that niche, I'm able to get a lot more responses back from them because they feel like the message, and it is, but the important thing is that they feel that the message is targeted towards them, and they can resonate with that kind of message and the type of advisors that I am and what I'm providing for them. So
Yeah. So basically, with that research, not only you're able to optimize what you're saying on the calls, but also on your profile, right? You're able
absolutely,
to speak to them. Like think of your LinkedIn profile, for example, or even if you have a website for your practice, you're able to A to Z niche down everything, the content, the copywriting. And so I'm happy for you. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I guess what's your biggest takeaway, or maybe your biggest win going through that specifically the market research? Like what's the first thing that happened and you're like, wow, that just happened?
Well, two things. I guess there's like two turning points at this point. So I only started recently, right? So SLS, well, recently in December. Um, so I was able to establish a connection with the Physio Association in Quebec. So I'm a proud partner of the association. I've got my own page on their website with our our service offer with and we host different events with them. But that was only possible through niching down. Uh, the whole concept is exactly how it's described in the SLS framework. So, uh, by understanding, first of all, looking at who you're going to target. So, I have a close friend of mine who's a physiotherapist. I've used services from physiotherapy. I did a lot of sports as a kid. Comes with the injuries. I saw all kinds of physiotherapists. When I was a kid, I one of my best friend is a clinic owner. My cousin is also very well established in the physiotherapy field. So throughout my personal connections, I was able to develop that partnership with the association. And now I have people. So I've kind of set myself up as the authority in the physiotherapy field. I've had people just message me, send me Outlook messages. Hey, I would like to book an appointment with you. I mean, they're this crazy. They're coming to see me. So imagine all the time I'm saving in terms of marketing, in terms of uh, time and money. They're just coming and writing to me emails saying that they want to book an appointment with me
Yeah,
to discuss financial planning.
yeah, zero
So
$0 of ad spend. You didn't spend anything on ads, right? Just pure.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's just the web page there, and they have the information. They see it, and they reach out to me, and then it starts to spread. Also, word of mouth. But it all started with the concept of niching down that you guys have so well defined in the program, and to me, that's been one of the game changers in my practice.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Jonathan. And one last thing I want to go over here is what would you say to someone who's on the edge of joining our SLS Framework Mastermind?
I think if somebody's on the edge of joining the SLS framework is because they have an understanding of the fundamentals. You understand that your success depends on your ability to constantly feed your pipeline in an efficient manner. And this is what SLS framework provides you. So it's, I mean, we spoke a lot about niching down, but there's also the other aspect, which is uh, generating leads, leveraging social network, LinkedIn, to be able to generate uh, constant leads, qualified leads. So this, I mean, you can book you can close a big deal today and be very happy about it, but to me, if your pipeline in the next few weeks is pretty dry, then to me it's a cause of concern. I mean, what's happened in the past stays in the past. We're always looking forward in our practice. That's the way it is. It's always been that way. And so it's always been about um, being able to constantly feed the pipeline, create this machine that you're going to be able to put on autopilot so that you can focus on the things that matter most for you and your clients, which is providing them uh, with financial advice. So sound financial advice for them.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for hopping on today, Jonathan.
My
Uh,
pleasure.
awesome. Take
Thank you
care.
guys for the program.
Our pleasure.